Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning.
And I'm Trinity French.
And we are your business coaches at Wired to Change.
With the number 2.
We help you get your business to the level you want it to be so you can enjoy the life of a small business owner.
And Mike, what a life it is.
I'm rather enjoying it. I'm succeeding individually as a partner in COVID because Zoom has and GoToMeeting, I got your note.
Yep.
Have far exceeded my expectations. I feel more connected because I can do 4 one-to-ones back to back, and otherwise I'd have an hour and a half drive time. So I'm loving this.
I am enjoying the not driving as much, but I am also really looking forward to personal interaction. So I went and did a run club with a couple of my friends on Tuesday, and over at Bond Brothers in Cary. So kudos to them. They had the social distancing thing down pat. Plus they have amazing beer, great food trucks. And it was so nice to actually see humans like face to face, even if it's with a mask on. And I'm going to do 2 one-to-ones next week where we're going to eat dinner. And I'm so excited to be with people because the GoToMeeting calls, doing things online is great. But I just thrive off of seeing people in person.
Food trucks are an interesting industry. I've didn't grow up with them, obviously, don't know much about them. But when we go, our oldest son, Travis, but more importantly, our grandson, Oliver, and his mom and his dad live in Charlotte, is how I really should say it. And we were there about a year ago, and Travis and Sarah and their buddies got together and said, we're going to this bar tonight. And naturally, I just asked, is that your favorite bar? They said, no, they're having our 2 favorite food trucks come.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and I thought that food truck would be an amazing thing to own because your overhead is super low and it's not like a regular restaurant where you have to stay open. Like your hours of business can be wherever you decide to go drive up. And plus, like how much fun to be on one of those shows where you have like the food truck. I want to be on, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the food truck.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name either, but I've seen it.
But it would be so fun because I love cooking shows.
So anyways, we're not here about food trucks. We can be, but we're not today. So
Speaking of food trucks, which I'm sure that somewhere there's a food truck franchise that you could buy into.
It's in his future.
You could. But we're here with a very, 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 very special guest, Mr. David Riddell. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did.
Excellent. With Big Frog Custom T-shirts, 2 locations, one in Asheville and one in my stomping ground, Durham, North Carolina.
Durham.
She's new.
And there is a Durham. There is a franchise lobster truck that was on Shark Tank that does smashingly well. I mean, in the towns that has it. I mean, it's a lobster roll kind of thing, and it does better in the South than up north just because you're adding that element to it. And the prophet, what's his name? Now I forgot his name. But between the Shark Tank guys and the prophet, Marcus Lemonis, that's also the CEO of Camping World. I mean, between those 2 shows, you get to learn a lot about small business and franchising, and I guess Shark Tank's more about I'm getting it there, and they're supposed to help put the pieces together, and some are further along than others. The profit is I've been doing it, and when we spoke earlier, then it was people forget to ask for help because they think they're supposed to know it, and the profit show is I'm clueless. Call him in. He writes a check and takes half the business, but calls the shots because you thought you were good at. Like I'm a great chef, but I'm a bad business person. Or as I've mentioned earlier, it's like I can't design. So if I became a designer, nobody's staying with me for that. So how do you find those people that are good at what you're not?
Wait. Oh, I thought that was our afternoon rain, but it's the air conditioner.
No, it's the rain. That's
Is that
definitely
the rain, Drago?
rain. Do. Here comes the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just changed it. But back to this food truck thing. I'm actually really hungry.
Yeah.
And at some point, Scott, my husband out there, because I know he listens to every single podcast, I would love to own a food truck. I think that would be so cool.
You don't. You're not having fun with the third dog. You don't want a food because you every time you looked out your window and saw that sitting on the street outside your house, you're like, damn it, we're not making any money. It's sitting there burning cash.
So here's what you need to do.
That would bother you.
Asheville
No,
North.
I would have somebody out there working it for me.
Oh, I thought you wanted to do it. Okay.
I want to own it. I don't want to be in there actually doing it. I just want to own the food truck, and then I'll have a chef.
She wants a
and I'll have a
turnkey franchise truck.
Yeah.
So Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Cary have some very good microbreweries, but who beats that is Asheville. There's like 75 craft breweries, wineries, etc.
Yeah, I go to Asheville just to drink.
But to what Mike said, every single one of those has a food truck. Sometimes it's rotating, and sometimes it's a permanent one. And there are places that do the beer tour where you get on the bus and they take you brewery to brewery to brewery during that day. Just like there's an Asheville rooftop bar tour that's a friend of mine, and so you see 5 bar rooftops. But that's where you go. Go to Asheville to drink and experience the food truck. And we do have a weekend where it's a food truck war, and it's in the Ag Center parking lot, and they've got every food truck show up, and you can forget quarantine 15. You can just go nutty for Professor Sherman Clump blow up right then in the whole middle of the thing.
In a normal world, how many people show up for that in good weather?
Hundreds.
Yeah.
Because
have you ever been to a
have
food
every
truck
type
rodeo?
of everything, from the taco to the pizza to the wings to the Greek to the
kind of downtown. Once they were downtown on
probably on Fayetteville Street.
Yeah, and so they had like 40.
Amazing.
So
we used to go to the food truck rodeos. They had a couple in Durham. They had them all the time in Raleigh, and I found that it was kind of cool that they're all there, but I did not want to wait an hour and a half for my favorite food truck when I can just go follow them on Instagram and find out where they're going to be
the next
and
weekend.
pop in there and get my food and not have to wait for an hour and a half.
It's curious to see which food trucks have the longer lines. That was my eye was looking like, well,
and
why?
that's how you
He's
know
doing
the ones that are
Walmart.
really
Let me
good.
sit back and watch which people go there. The
Why
ones
are
you
there
don't
40 there for the lobster one, and then there's like 7 for the
Right,
barbecue
look at the
one?
pretentious
Where-
lobster
yeah.
roll, people. But when a lot of times we all love dive, like there's the diners, dives, and drive-ins,
good
and
show.
you love in the middle of nowhere is a shack that has the best burger. I got asked, on Gaggle with the Geese, those two insurance guys, it's like one of their questions is just what's your go-to food place? And I say, find me a locally owned pizza dive, and it's incredible. But the food trucks have become those dives, just coming to you and changing places. Because there's a weird ambiance to a dive and an interesting service. Well, that's what there is with How's the Truck. At an event, I had a guy that had a horse trailer, and he put one of those big wood fire pizza things in it, and it goes place to place to place. And so it's the same thing, just on wheels.
But that's an experience.
That's
because
right.
there's
It
a
is.
story. Oh, where'd you go for dinner the other night? Oh, we went to Bennigan's. I may be dating myself here.
Wow.
Exactly. And people go, or just a chain restaurant or a restaurant that people love, and they go, oh, okay. But the minute you bring up food truck rodeo, man,
Bennigan's and
Yes.
Ruby's and Chili's are fast food with ferns.
Yeah.
Whereas the dives are dives. And a food truck, you're looking at it the same kind of thing. How'd this even make it here? And is it clean inside? And I don't even know half of this stuff, but my gosh, is it
It's
good? And I can go sit
good.
under the tree and eat.
Yep.
So it's as much of an experience
It is.
just on wheels.
Yeah, that's why I
It's
had
so
a food
cool.
truck at our wedding, because it was
Really?
amazing. And the name of the food truck was Forget Me Not.
Yeah.
And I love a good pun.
See, that's
She
the great
does,
thing
yeah.
about food trucks, too. None of them are boring. It's like none of them are hamburgers to go. They all have the
They all
cutest
have
names now.
adorable names.
And the food's good.
Adorable
usually.
is why I'm picking the food truck.
There you go.
Not, I mean, you got to.
Yeah.
But that's what intrigues you about everything. The name changes the game. Right? You've
it's a
got
story,
business.
yeah.
Well, but in branding, the name can go, it's the coolest thing in the world. And we see it in $3 million Super Bowl commercials. Greatest commercial. What did they sell? So it could be a blessing and a curse, right? If you get that name that also has the brand in there and it sticks with you, it's like, I am so there.
Speaking of branding, real quick, the new Nike ad Check that out.
It's a tearjerker.
Oh my God.
And
I haven't seen
the
it.
editing, just tonight when you get home, it's about a minute and a half. The editing and the content, it just is
it's one of the best commercials ever. And Nike, because they are so big, but they have also been through because now where are we in public opinion? A couple years ago, Kaepernick was their guy and he got raked, right? And now we're at a point where we're debating that whole thing, and everybody's doing what he did, and he's been out of football losing his income, but Nike is still there.
They stayed with him from day one, where many other companies said, whoa, hang on a sec, but Nike stayed in, and they're getting the dividends
But
now.
that's the thing.
Yep.
Nike, people said, I'm not shopping. I'm going to switch brands. And now this commercial is just going to bring you right back in, because you're going to realize, you know what? They had a guy that was selling shoes, and they believe in. Fine. I mean, Nike knows what there's one of those brands that's going, even though they haven't been around since before the 70s. I mean, it's not McDonald's from the 50s and something that's 100 years old, but they just get it because they'll keep pivoting. And now all of us are, I mean, we all had to pivot because the survey in 2015 said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And all of us lost, right? We all have to pivot now. But the best companies know how to, and they don't go out of business. How many food places, when we were just talking about trucks, how many of these casual places are toast? Not just because of COVID, it's been coming. And how many retailers are toast? Because you were who you were, you are who you are, and now you are done.
Yeah.
Speaking of pivot,
were food trucks able to stay open during COVID because because people just come up and because they're to go?
Here's my thought. I'd have been driving my damn food truck around, make them stop me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'd have found places to go. I'm sure some of them got hurt.
I would have been I would have gotten the ice cream truck speaker and the cute music. I mean, the gravy train music, and I would have gone just right
I
down
would have
the
gone
middle
neighborhood
of a
to neighborhood and
That's
been
the
like,
whole goal.
"Here you go."
Right? Why
You
did they
don't
not
wanna
at 4:30? I mean, I got Mondays, you got Tuesdays. Said Monday instead of where are we going for takeout? It's like meet me at the driveway.
yeah.
Why did nobody think
A
of
friend
that?
of mine does that in Wake Forest. He'll promote every week. There's a food truck in the area, and that's exactly. I'd have done that till they said you can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
I'm
me
not
too,
waiting
for
around.
sure.
Well, but there's a social distancing. I mean, because you don't have the whole neighborhood running up at 30 people standing. You're going to stop, and then you're going to stop, and then you're going to stop. That's genius. Where were you 4 months ago?
You know,
with your food truck.
I should have met you sooner with my food truck idea. Thank you very much.
Speaking of pivoting,
Sometimes,
let's
sometimes
talk.
you
Pivot
just
to the
need
new norm,
meet
kids.
the right person.
So we don't even say if we're in the middle, the late stages, or we're just in COVID right now. From a retail standpoint, so you're in COVID, you are retail and multiple locations. The first month when they said, you know what, everybody shut down and we don't know what's going on, what did you guys have to do to be here today?
So there's places that didn't shut down. There's places that, I mean, all varying levels of, right? And you see restaurants that had no drive-through or no pickup that tried to invent it. And I'm sure some of the big chains that had like a Chili's or something that had takeout, and it's maybe 5% of their business. So the regional managers are still getting onto them. Is it now 7? Is it now 10? Is it now 12? The first thing you have to do, whether you're a corporation or a little dude, is reevaluate everything. In our industry, which has some retail to it, January and February are our slowest months. What does that mean? Zero cash flow. So when I'm supposed to hit March and go game time, and mid-March, the governor says schools are out, and 30 minutes later, I get the email from the PTO that says, can we cancel our $5,000 order? If you haven't printed it, you go, here we go. And I lost all the schools. And then now we're starting it. We're supposed to be starting again. Okay, I'm closing and a couple of months, and now schools are doing the same thing, and nonprofits. So the first thing we had to do was evaluate. I saw businesses leave because I don't have any money, because what everybody thinks is a small business owner must be raking it in. They don't realize there's 1 month to 6, if you're lucky, of cash flow, because in business, I got to have sales. Yes, you do. but you can have a better bottom line with lesser sales because there's a middle part. The third part that nobody thinks about going into entrepreneurship is there's a cash flow thing. So I do a $10,000 sale to a hospital on a lower margin. I'm the last one to get paid. So I'm fronting the $7,000 to get it done, to wait 12 weeks to get the $10,000, which was only $3,000.
Yep.
So the first thing we had to do is say, is this worth it? Because you don't want to fail. Your stubbornness doesn't want to fail. Mm-hmm. And your business sense says the landlords, although they might try to come after you because they're asking for rent, all the bills are still paid. The apparel vendor for us, if we fold, they can try to come after us, but in a COVID, there's kind of an excuse. And in one sense, it's an easy out, but you're evaluating to say, we didn't have cash flow. We don't know where this is going. Do I even fold? That's one, right? Where do we stand? And we had to think about that. I mean, I've got 2 stores, 2 sets of bills, lost mid-March to I didn't know when at that point in time. And will the landlord work with me? And one goes, just pay the CAM triple net charges and then we'll figure it out. And then one of them says, we're in Houston and we've got 100 locations and so many layers and tough poop, balance comes due, right? And so everybody that got laid off that didn't get their super nice unemployment check that was better than most business owners. I mean, if you were commission sales or you were working on tips, well, your rent's still coming due on the personal side. So in business, you're doing. So first step is it even worth it? Second step is this, unfortunately, through all the emotions, gives you the opportunity to say, okay, how do we reset? And reset not forward, reset looking backwards. And that meant, what did we do wrong? Like it gave me 4 to 6 weeks of sit there reflection that I could have taken a vacation or I could have said, how's this business practice? So we reset some things we wanted to do. How do we make customer service better? How do we control expenses different? How do I go about pricing? That was step 2. And then step 3 was, now there's government regulations, common sense regulations. How do we go into that? And in the Durham locations, as you know, so Durham from the beginning had masks. Mm-hmm. You will have them, you will wear them. Yep. And so from a health standpoint, everybody's wearing them. But the mask goes straight to the brain. I have the mask, therefore we're going slower, we're conservative. Better for health, worse for business. So I didn't really go up in Durham. I reopened and it's kind of going straight across because you're thinking we can't roam around the building. Asheville, which isn't as Wild West as South Carolina, said no masks, right? You can't have it. You can get a massage, but you can't go to the gym and restaurants still aren't going to open. And you don't have to wear a mask if you don't want to, but some people will enforce it. And my first 2 months out, the first one was better than I thought, but way down from last year. The second month was, oh my God, it was unbelievable. Like things over. And then they slap a mask on us July 1st. And all of a sudden, whoop, bloop, right? Like you're the kid or the dog that got punished. And so that's the stage of what do we have to do? And okay, we're going to wear masks. They're going to wear masks. We've got to clean. Do we put a blockade? Do we not, unlock the door? And between 2 stores and 2 markets, and Asheville's a little more open demographically and density. So I had to do things different. I don't care if it's 30 minutes down the road based on where you're at. And so this one, when 2 people had to go out to get tested, came back fine, but you can't take a team of 4 and miss 2 of them and run a business. So we had to lock the door. And so then it's shut. And for the rest of this month, we're going to be virtual only like schools are. We'll still help you and we'll do curbside pickup, but we're not open. And in Asheville, we're open and they come in and it's fine. When we do open back here, then we'll have the barrier so you can walk in and have the table and see the store and still touch stuff, but you can't run around like crazy. So you start to go, what do I need to do? And I had to lower my prices within reason because everybody is. So what's my threshold of if I quoted this percentage, I can go down to, and should I run a sale here, and which marketing to cut off because a Google AdWords bill is huge, but you're not supposed to cut off marketing in the bad times, and that's the first thing that everybody cuts.
We talked about that too.
And then the great American acronyms. Everything's an acronym now, right? In America, we don't even need to spell because everything's become an acronym. Well, in government assistance of we're in debt, but we're still going to, and you've heard me talk about printing shirts. I can throw one on and print. So we just took out paper and we just printed a couple trillion more dollars and we handed it to everybody. So became, here's your acronyms. So PPP, there are some that said, ooh, free money. And I heard somebody in my franchise say, I've made it. No, it helped you get open. Talk to me in January. If we make it to our franchise convention, you've made it. But we could have another close down and no extra PPPs going to fix that. And then I was fortunate that I got the opportunity for EIDL, and it's what do you get it? And there was the EIDL emergency fund that some got and some didn't. And if you take PPP and you take EIDL, then or that or one's paying back. And then there's the full EIDL, which is a long-term thing. So people go, I got EIDL. That means I got money in the bank, and that means I'm ready to roll. Except that in 9 months, you now have that bill that means that's you have to be doing more money than you were doing when this year I've lost a year.
Right.
I will not do what I did in 2019. I'm going to do 2018 numbers. And 2019 was great. So I expected this year to be huge. So I've lost a whole year. So next year will be 2019 again by sales. Hopefully.
Maybe, yes.
Maybe. So you get PPP, and what do you do with it? Do you bring, in what level do you bring them back? What do you do with them? And I used it as marketing and some other things to set the stage. I called it preseason, like baseball or football. Sales aren't going to be there, but I don't have to pay payroll and rent. So how do I rebring the team back? How do I either institute or reinstitute? Like, we're going to reiterate the good. We're going to institute some things that needed it. So you're in a complete reset mode, because I've learned while they were out getting paid more than me, right? The team was. And this is where we want to go. So these 2 months allows that. Well, then that's over. And now you have idle money. But if you get $50,000 and you lose $10,000 a month, well, then in 5 months, now you have no money, and in our case, go into the slow season, and you have to pay that back. So don't just think it was free money. So there's lots of steps in there that it's still a long-term game. Business is still not about that 2 months. And so you were closed. That stinks. We could have folded. We did not. Hallelujah. We got PPP. That doesn't mean go crazy. It means set the stage so you can stay open. And then you have EIDL. So it gives you money, but you still have to look at the books like you don't have it, because you'd like to get into next year and still have some of that left.
Exactly. I think we're going to see a lot of the businesses that sort of limp along are going to go under because they are planning on that being free money, and they're not thinking about the interest and the payments that they need to make back, and they're not looking at the big picture. And that's really scary for small business owners. And
well, I mentioned earlier that Walmart and Amazon and the other places, service is gone. Small businesses go. Small business has always been there. It's the backbone. But we've forgotten that as we've gotten bigger, faster, more convenient on the internet. And now we're showing it, because that's a certain percentage of the population that's going to go down and leave all of these places undone and leave all of these people out of work. And so we have to be careful, because we can't afford another shutdown. But if you think you've made it, as opposed to that, the same people that think they made it are the ones that thought, I opened a business, it's all good, there's no work, there's no effort. Well, I'm working harder these couple months, but also different, because everything's different. I can't help it. It was the way we print a shirt and design a shirt, and we're still going to be over the top helping people, but the things. And so whether we go more with a Zoom instead of them standing over our shoulder in the store, and so each business is going to have to look at that, but you have to say long term, not free money good. Or, as I could have closed, I looked further and said, it's easy to close because the world's giving me an out. How do I fight to stay alive?
In It's a Wonderful Life, Remember when there was a run on the bank and everything? Their whole Bailey savings and loan, the whole goal was just to stay open at 5 o'clock, have $1 left to stay open. And right now, a lot of that is just, how do I stay open?
No cash flow.
No.
Now you have less. And again, in my case, January, February, in our industry, it was. So yes, it's how do I stay open? How do you, we spoke about leveraging your partners, and if the SBA will pay your loan, like the original loan, not the idle, but you have your original loan and the SBA will pay that for 6 months, which they are, then if you work thin for the 2 months of PPP, and some people, it's like mine's done because I was 6 weeks into the 8 when they said now you have 6 months rather than 8 weeks. Thanks. But it's so my loan was this. And instead of just plugging away, you say, what can that pay? Because I'm not having to do that. And you have to look at it more so. Yes, you want to get sales back. And if I can be the first month be 50% down, that's better than 100% down when I was closed. And then you can be 40 and then 25. And at some point this year, get closer, beat it and go victory. And if you used to do 50,000 a month and you do 35 and you're jumping up and down like a victory, then great. But those expenses, I mean, things are still coming. You still have rent. You still have this. So leverage the payroll. How do you get sales matters? Where's the profit coming from? What expense can you cut? And how does any of that free money play to your advantage?
Right.
Debt service is what kills most businesses. Underfunded debt, whatever you want to call that,
Right.
does that. The businesses, back to Trinity's point earlier, the businesses that are sound, and I don't mean financially, just sound with how they're operating,
Operationally,
are going to come through this more efficient when 2022 rolls around, and hopefully we are done with this. And they're going to go, you know what? We really found operating it this way. Everybody was happy. We exceeded expectations, and the margin was better.
we spoke about marketing and how you approach a networking group. And if you've lived your life in a BNI giver's gain-ish, and as a business you were more than trying to make a sale, then while you were down for 6 weeks to now, because there are gyms and other places down now, and I saw this even in our franchise group, if you decided perfect opportunity for me to go and get some rest, not good. If you decided to find sales, like you're going to pick up the phone and almost beg and cold call, and you're going to be that guy when nobody has any money, not good. Remember the 3 people I talked about in those different things. But my wife and I, from the first second, were give back. What we couldn't do in corporate would write a check, and I couldn't do any of it. And so we've always had school discounts and a free e-commerce site for fundraising, and we've given of our time. And so that's what we did. I put together May 1st, the day we and I didn't do it April, because to say, here's a fundraiser to help people and nobody's got any money. So I waited till May 1st, which was starting to come out, and put together an e-commerce site and said, any business that was hurt or slowed, any nonprofit, all you do is give me your logo for free. I'll pick a couple shirts. Now there's a link with, in this area, 25 and in Asheville, 55. You send it to all your people and say, it's on social media. If you like, comment, share, I get visibility. If you buy a shirt, you're now a walking billboard. But if you buy a shirt, Big Frog's giving much of the money back. So I made sure that I wasn't making much. And so in the pivot, in the what am I going to do, everybody was buying from a site that was mine, getting an email from us,
you. Yep.
picking up at the curb from us, getting a shirt from us, and I went softer, more fashion, and made less. So I hardly made anything. I covered costs, got a smidge, but the businesses would get more. But by them doing what they did, they got money and visibility. But then they're tagging me, and then I'm liking back. Then they're getting my shirt. So where some businesses blew it is they were either disappeared off the earth, going cold hard sale, and somewhere in the middle is, I mean, you saw people go, any sales I'm going to give to this nonprofit, or 10% off of this. And even if you couldn't fully, and I was shut down, so I was in deep trouble, but I had the means to try, right? So it wasn't about make lots of money, but what pays off now. I was able to write $6,000 in checks that I didn't have because of the close downs, but because people were paying, then I could take the chunk of that and pay back, which is now these businesses get it. But then we were doing something right, and we kept, because from the beginning in mid-March, I said, keep community moving forward. And so they say, eat out, tip well, do takeout. And I said, that's how I can do that. I don't have the money to eat out because my employer didn't pay me, which is me, because I was shut down.
Exactly.
And everybody wanted my money. But if I could leverage the community and say, you help your businesses, which in turn I'm helping because of this site, I'm getting visibility, I'm doing the right thing, and then we won. We won because I could have the printer printing. I could get some goodwill and a smidge of money. They could get more money. And so what you did with the downtime is a couple of parts. It's where you're going to go and the details of your business, but how you played community, how you played the giver's gain person and didn't just try either cry in your milk or start yelling at people and having a fire sale and how do I get money quickly.
Yeah, and I think that there's a couple other businesses that did a good pivot like that, like the ones that there's a printer that we know that helped make signs for restaurants and provided those, and like that breeds enough goodwill that when everything does come back and we are able to go spend money again, people are going to remember that your business did something that was beneficial for the community versus just doing something that was completely for their personal gain.
We print masks. We don't sew them. But there are some embroiderers that the small couple people like my shop that, embroidery, because you can now stitch, right? It's like, and although we can stitch stuff, we're not stitching the product together. And so they pivoted to, I'm just going to make masks. We're not going to do anybody's logo. We don't care. We're going to do masks. And there were even some of the other Big Frog stores that said, here's some scrap shirts. And they put them outside their door with like the pattern you used to, you could buy. So it says, here's how you make the masks. And then you see manufacturing plants that were making something and gave up the money of what they were making to make something else, whether it was PPP that made them even more money stuff. But for the most part, they were trying to help. There was a community
distilleries making hand sanitizer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, and by the way, have more alcohol than alcohol does.
Yes, just smell that stuff. But and I get it. They were making tons of money, so they pivoted in, if I do this, it's a community and money. But then there were some that it's got to be community first because they're not going to buy what I'm making. So how do I help? And that was the biggest thing is easy way out, because COVID's going to allow the landlords not to come after you. And well, I didn't fail. COVID pushed me out, even if you didn't really have the resources. Or how badly do I want to do this? I'm an entrepreneur, and it was never easy. It just got harder. Game on, down by 3, bottom of the 9th.
What role did your staff at either or both locations play in this survival mode?
I kept a manager. The manager, I have the manager because I can't be in both stores at once. So I had to keep manager on staff. The other ones, we let go, but and they were down the month. Like we kept them the first couple weeks in March, everybody, and then let them go in April, and then in May slowly brought them back. But none of them just went home and sat there. They weren't on my money, but they were still checking in on us, as I understand they're people too, and not just the evil owner who might not have a business for me to get paid at. Right. And they were doing their part as citizens. And then when they came back, they understood. They weren't working off the clock or doing something illegal, but they were still trying to find opportunities. They came back and they could see it in our face when we're telling them, listen, we could have easily closed. We could still close. This is not an easy road. We got help. which allows us a second chance. You are a part of our journey, because the biggest thing about hiring in anything, especially in small business, you can't pay $30,000, $40,000 for every employee. You can't give them health insurance massively because it's not even set up for that. What you can do is make them a part of something. In this generation, that matters. I mean, the dress code, the environment. I'm not working for the mean CEO or the bad company. I'm working for the environmental friendly, that's socially responsible, that's this. And in small business, they want to work for you, and they want to buy into your story, and they want to be a part of something. And so they come back, and they can, and even though I can be a crier, it's like I'm trying to hold together when they come back and you say, I could have lost everything I spent 25 years working for, that I invested in this, and now these years for this. Do you see it in my face? And they saw it. So there wasn't, and I've had a good team anyway with very limited turnover in both stores, but the little bits of drama that just come from human nature, just from Walmart watching. It's like, okay, I'll be 5 minutes early, or I'll smile. So when you have a good team, they understand that, and they can feel the emotion and passion anyway. But coming out of this, it's more, and it's hard to step up your game if you're good. But there is a little bit of that subconscious thing that now you're really in. Before, I knew them as my bosses and was helping them, but oh my God, I could have not been able to come back myself. And it's
and there's so many. I mean, they're saying that there's going to be 50% of businesses that are not going to make it through. And that is heartbreaking, because that means all those people that, are just uncertain if they're going to have a job when they come back. All the business owners, like you said, they might have dumped their retirement money into these businesses. They put everything on the line. And now, because of this virus, we're just in this unprecedented time. And there's no way that you could have seen this coming.
This was our biggest month last year, August. And we're now 3.5 days in when I came here. And it was like, I'm a little scared. I'm scared again. I was scared 4 months ago that I wasn't going to open. And then now that we're open and there's masks and we're like tiptoeing cautiously, I'm like, good. It's not going to be last year, and how do we do? And then August, I'm going, and I get it's the week before school, even if it's virtual school. And it's the normal beach week, but you still start going, right? And it's the business on your toes of always worried, middle of the night thing. And so just because I'm sitting here and I'm still open and we have a great track record and great community reception, doesn't mean I make it to December. And I can't take that for granted. And we never have with clients. That's the other rule in business. Never assume, never expect, never take for granted. I've started months where I had a $12,000 sale the prior year that I knew I wasn't getting. So you're already starting in the hole, right? You can't just assume, had them last year, I'm going to have them. Had a huge client here that spent $50,000, and then they get the new merchandising person that's going to buy it all offshore, right? And the branded. And so we lost that for the year, but our customer count was up 10%. So although it doesn't vault you forward, you don't go backwards. So never assume or take for granted. And the same thing applies to now. It's like, I'm not taking for granted that I'm reopened. It's like, because I could not be. I could be one of those casualties, and it scares me to death every day. But I'm thankful every day, because if I was in the hands of somebody else, and I am, Captain Corona, but if you're in the hands of somebody that's corporate America, they could say, all of you are gone at any given time, and you don't have a say. I have more say, even if some things are out of my hands.
Well, we are very appreciative of you taking time out of your busy schedule and coming and spending a couple hours with us.
This is fun.
It has been a lot of fun. I've learned a ton. I've also learned that I'm going to buy a food truck.
She's going to buy a food truck, and it's going to be like Santa. The three dogs are going to take it to the thing.
Three dogs are going to
harness them up, and it's going to go down the road, and it's going to sell hot dogs as the dogs are leaving. I don't know.
And Big Frog can do your uniforms, right?
Yes, Big Frog will be able to.
Everything,
Absolutely.
head to toe,
I'm over here thinking, ooh, what kind of stuff can I print on? I'm like, bags, hats, masks.
But she needs a cute name, because that's why
a really cute
she'll
name.
That's her wheelhouse.
Yes. Yep. I'm already the wheels are moving.
Order one off of Amazon, Trinity. Food truck, Amazon, be here in 2 days.
It'll be here tomorrow.
While he's eating at the food truck in the Walmart going, those are cute sweatpants.
Love it. And they don't fit.
Yeah.
And they don't fit. No, I'm talking, the ones on the person, not the ones you just bought. Yes.
Exactly.
Dave, this has been awesome. We truly appreciate you. You are very respected within the community, so we are happy to have you as part of our crew here at Wired to Change. And if you, our listeners, enjoyed this episode today, please go out there and share us with all of the people that you love, because they just don't know what they're missing out on.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it for today. We're going to go play in the rain, and we'll see you next time on our Wired to Change podcast.